Okay. Hello, Charlie. Thanks for having us today. So super short, I'm Johann. I'm a Salesforce architect from Berlin. I have Christopher with me. He's the CTO of Capgemini Germany. And Charlie, I think you don't have to introduce yourself. Maybe just one or two words what you are currently working on about yourself.
Okay, hi, Charlie Isaacs. I'm CTO for Customer Connection, which means I focus on emerging technology at Salesforce and connecting customers to products, and also focusing on areas where a company might go into the future. And the future could be anywhere between next week and next year, or in 5 years.
Oh, so this is a good question. How do I always come from my personal point of view as an architect, how do I uncover untapped potential with my clients for future technologies? Because I'm almost in a reactive mode. I read the release notes, I read up on Trailhead, but how do I uncover untapped potential of future technologies?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is when you're focusing on a specific customer, for example, I do a lot of research, right? So let's say it's an automotive customer. I'll go to their website. I find out what they're doing, and even look for things like if they have a concept car, right? And every company has a concept car, even non-automotive companies, right? They're already thinking about where they're going to be in the future. So with Salesforce and with our platform and the ease of implementation and deployment on our Salesforce platform, you can actually take an idea from a customer, evolve it, and figure out where not only Salesforce is going to be in a few months, but where the technology is going to be in a few months. And it's really easy to find emerging technologies because they're coming out all the time. Like even on, like I follow a lot of smart people on Twitter. They're always tweeting things that are forward-thinking, next generation types of ideas. And so when I work with a customer, the first thing I do is technical due diligence with them, right? I say, okay, or discovery. You can call it due diligence or you can call it discovery. It's a combination of the two. Based upon what I know in the research I did prior to getting on this call with you, Mr. or Miss Customer, this is where I think you're going to be going. Does that sound right? And they'll say no. And the best responses I get is when they tell me I'm really stupid. They say, oh, that's a dumb idea, blah, blah, blah. But wait, did you think about this, right? So they follow on with something that may be additive or even subtractive to what I came up with, but that stimulates other thoughts and other ideas. So once you've discovered where the customer thinks that they're going, you can extrapolate on where they need to be. And then once you do that with Salesforce, since it's the platform and it's easy to build stuff on our platform, I just build it, right? So I'll prototype something, I'll put it together, and like if it's an IoT project, I'll actually build a simulator, or I'll get, hey, do you have any live data from a product you're about to release in a year? Or maybe you're releasing it next month. Take the data, feed it in, and then it'll go into something like Data Cloud, right? With Data Cloud, we do massive event processing now. And we can take that data and we can build calculated insights on that data. And then we can trigger other activities within Salesforce. And I don't even have to get that fancy. I can just take an event feed in from a customer, from a device, or from their interactions on a website, or whatever their product happens to be. And I can take that information and trigger workflows and other activities within Salesforce really easily. And then I play that back for the customer. And that's when they tell me I'm stupid again, right? They say, oh, well, that's not what I was thinking about when we talked last time. You really missed the mark, but you can hit the mark if you go here, right? So the best way I can get a customer thinking about the future and what they should be thinking about in the future is by showing them things that may or may not be good ideas. Sorry for that long-winded answer, but that's
no. But you opened my eyes. So the same strategy I did as a beginner admin 15 years ago of building a prototype quickly, you still apply today with your large-scale enterprise customer for future?
Exactly. So my thinking is not that futuristic, is it? Because you thought of it 15 years ago. You're doing the same thing. Okay, but what's really cool now is with generative AI, it makes things so much easier because even if there's an area that I don't have knowledge in, I can ask Chat GPT or Einstein GPT, right? If it's specific customer data, we could apply Einstein GPT against a customer's org, for example, and glean really interesting information, right? Or they can do that. But using, I could do really rapid prototypes in areas that I'm not really familiar with. Let me give you an example of that. You wouldn't think of it as futuristic because it's been out for a while, but there's some technology from AWS that's called recognition, REKOG. Okay, it basically does image correlative analysis. It's computer vision, right, on steroids. So they can analyze an image, and they could tag the image, and based upon that tagging, they could tell me what's in the image, right? So it'll say, oh, it's a bottle, or it's a chair. And a demo I did for LA 311, which is not that futuristic when you think about it, but it was futuristic for them. The ability, we took the, I used recognition, I integrated that into Salesforce because I pushed the tags through a Lambda function into a Salesforce custom object, and then I picked up those tags and pushed them into generative AI, and I had that parse. This is where the part about me being lazy. Why should I write a parser for that? I just said, hey, Einstein GPT, what are the tags within this JSON payload, right? Because the recognition sent me the payload, the JSON payload for those tags in recognition, and Einstein GPT gave me the actual tag and said it was a chair on the road. And guess what? I take chair, and then I create a case in Service Cloud so that the people in Los Angeles, their citizens could just take a picture of something. It automatically tags it, and it creates a case in Service Cloud, and then creates what we call, oh, by the way, this doesn't translate. 311 for us is the information hotline in a city. We have 911. You guys have 999, right? Where you call emergency service.
We got the 112 now, where we also can call we call it the government hotline. Anytime you have
yeah, if you want to complain about, oh, there's a big couch.
Randomly scream, yeah. If you don't use the internet, right, then you want to do actually via phone, yeah.
But you can also open a case from the from the internet too, right? But they don't call it 311. That's web case creation, whatever. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm rambling on.
All good. So you took technology which looks, let's say, not futuristic for the three of us, but you put it together into one cohesive use case, and that made it futuristic for the customer.
Yeah, and another example of that, there are tools that are available that are futuristic, right? Because you could take the tool, and another example I have is Unity. Have you ever heard of the Unity platform, where it does basically virtual reality? You can build, or the Unreal Engine is another one. You can build an avatar. You can build, I could take a factory, which is what I did. Here's another example of what I did for a customer in England. They had a bike factory. This is Brompton Bikes, and they wanted to build a digital twin of their factory representation because they wanted to show what would happen. By the way, here's another buzzword for you. Digital twin. Everybody knows what a digital twin is, right? It's a virtual representation of something physical, right? So I'm representing that either in Salesforce, which is what we did for an automotive customer. We took their concept car and we represented that in a console in Salesforce. And when the door opens, you see it opening in Salesforce. When you change your ambient lighting within the car, or if the oil pressure gets too high, you can see that in the console, and the contact center agent can see that. So we call that a digital twin representation of an object or the vehicle or whatever. But you could also build like a forward-looking type of tool or application is Unity, because I could download a model, a factory model, right? Which is kind of, it looks cartoonish, but it has a conveyor belt and it has a palette and it has a whole library of things that I can manipulate and make them look like Brompton's bike factory. And I could show what's going to happen when you go from station 1 to station 2. Station 1, you put the front wheel on. Station 2, you put the handlebars on. Station 3, you put the back wheel on. Okay. I took that and I fed those events. I push the play button. I feed the events into a flow, right? And a Kanban. So I write a row into a record in Salesforce, and that you can see the Kanban going, oh, the bike's at stage 1, the bike's at stage 2, the bike's at stage 3. So guess what? What happens if the front wheel is no longer available from Germany, right? Because my source is in Germany. Well, I want to go to source B, which is in France. Sorry about that. So we're going to France to get the front wheel, and then but that's great. You know, you can just simulate one bike going through. That's pretty boring, right? What happens if you get 50? Maybe you want to change your factory to handle 50 bikes an hour, right? From one. So the story I like to tell is, who here has gotten on an airplane without the pilot taking 1,000 hours of flight simulator training, right? So you always expect the pilot is going to have flight simulator training before you fly with them, right? Why would you?
Hopefully, yes, right?
Hopefully, yes. And there's a big controversy over that in the U.S. right now, because in the U.S. they're thinking about reducing the number of flight simulator hours that pilots have to take from 1,200 down to 1,000 or something. And I don't want to get in the plane with that person. Anyway, so if you wouldn't get on the plane with a pilot that wasn't trained in the flight simulator, why would you run your business without simulating the operation first? So you're going to see more and more, and you might say, oh, that's not futuristic. They've been doing that in Germany for years, right? Which they probably have, right? These big automotive customers, they probably have simulators where they can simulate operations. If it's not in real time and in visual representation of it, at least they're running models, right? Mathematical models of how many things they can run through their factory. But so in that case, I was able to show a futuristic like view for Brompton bikes, and we showed that at the London World Tour. I think it was last year. So that's an example of leveraging a tool like Unity or Unreal Engine and using it for something that wasn't really intended to be used for, and integrating it with the functionality in Salesforce. Because now I know who my supplier B is, or my third tier supplier that I can go to, and I can actually go to them when the wheel doesn't show up. And guess what else I'm going to do? Think about other Salesforce functionality you want to trigger. Oh, the wheel's not there. We're going to have a production line delay. So what do you want to do? You want to contact your customer, right? So that should create a case in Service Cloud, or that should send a workflow or trigger a workflow that notifies the inside salesperson they need to get on the phone with their customer and tell them, hey, we're really sorry, but we had a production line shortage and you're going to be impacted by 3 days. And guess what else we should do? We should send them on a marketing cloud journey, right? If you send them on a marketing cloud journey, maybe they get a coupon for 10% off of their order. Hey, look, we're really sorry for the delay. Here's 10% off your next bike order. And anyway,
is that something where you see also like the platform capabilities evolving, let's say over the last 2-3 years, as especially kind of accelerating, that you opening up all those use cases you described? So instead of like everybody has potentially in mind, okay, that are the core cloud functionalities, let's say sales and service, and now you came up with like all the kind of manufacturing related use cases. So is that something where you also see like, okay, the platform is evolving, we have more technology capabilities, and we have like the room to develop into those kind of use cases?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned it earlier, the power of Data Cloud, right? Data Cloud now gives us the ability to off core, out of our historical data center and into Hyperforce, right? We can run in our Hyperforce environment, Data Cloud, and it can do massive event processing. And what are all the things we're talking about here? They're massive CDP events, right? Customer data platform events, marketing cloud, customer journey events, real-time telemetry events coming in, web clicks, all this stuff now with now the Data Cloud is here. We can build ingestion points in Data Cloud to process those and take trigger workflows from that, using calculated insights built into Data Cloud, and by triggering even flow. And again, flow is my hammer, and every challenge looks like a nail to me. I love flow. I could do pretty much anything with flow.
My favorite feature about flows is that they are automatically API enabled, and like I can it's an amazing API endpoint engine. But let's go back to Data Cloud. I was a little lazy, honestly, reading up on Data Cloud. So what I took away from the both of you is Data Cloud actually becomes more and more the glue that keeps everything together. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So it was originally invented to kick out a golden profile, right?
Yeah, I remember the Customer 360.
Yeah, it's the whole Customer 360 story, right? So I want to know that Charlie is actually at Charlie Isaacs on Twitter, and I also have a private email at isaacch@yahoo.com, because I've opted into that, right? So if I've opted in with that information to a company or a group of companies where they all are coordinating together, then it should know what I want, right? It should know my preference. If I choose to allow the company to know that about me, it should have it, and it should be able to provide me with much better service, right? And it should be able to improve my customer experience as a result of that, because that's what it's all about, right? Improving the customer experience for the customer or the customer's customer. And but Data Cloud is more than that. Since we had to accommodate massive feeds of what a customer is doing when they opt in, and also know at the same time they've opted out, right? Ignore that data. We had to be able to manage a massive amount of events. But so the byproduct of that is guess what? I don't know, maybe people listening on the call here remember IoT Cloud.
Yeah,
we had to yeah. Okay. So we used to have IoT Cloud, and that I loved that product. It was amazing.
Me too.
It had a great visualization tool. It was a massive event processor. Yeah. It had an insight diagram that you can see. It has a state machine built into it. But guess what? It was too expensive. So what good is something if customers can't afford it, right? And it had other problems being on our core platform. So now they've taken all the goodness out of IoT Cloud and made it affordable for our customers, and now it's Data Cloud. So I'm pretty much able to, and we moved. I think there's one or two exceptions of people that didn't move, but we moved most of our customers from IoT Cloud. They're still with us, right? Most of those IoT Cloud customers. And there's a couple in Germany that I won't mention their names because I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah.
I was so sad when IoT Cloud was not retired, but like almost discontinued, because I found it, like you say, such a unique product. But so Data Cloud is kind of the child now of IoT Cloud and Customer 360.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I'm sure the marketing people and the engineers would be angry at me for saying that, but I hope they're not listening. But
No, they are not allowed.
I can get away with saying that it's got all the great. We learned a lot from IoT Cloud, and a lot of those lessons. And by the way, they were. I hope this is not confidential, but why would it be? I don't know. They were. I had several meetings with the Data Cloud team as they were building it. And they said, okay, how do we accommodate your IoT cloud use cases, right? And I was flattered that they would call me, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was thrilled. That's the word I'm looking for. I was thrilled that they were thinking about that. You know, how do we accommodate the coolness of IoT cloud and make sure that Data Cloud can meet those use cases? And guess what? One of our first and we announced that this is not confidential. I think we announced this at Trailblazer DX or even maybe Dreamforce last year. Ford is on Data Cloud.
Really?
And they're pushing their telemetry data into Data Cloud. And they're using it. To me, it's kind of a boring use case. Don't tell them I said that. Wait, is this being recorded? No. It's like oil. It's oil. They're using calculated insights to tell the customer it's time for an oil change, right? Or something like that. So,
but yeah, think about all those kind of functions on demand which getting possible, which somehow also like the IoT cloud already kind of envisioned. So I remember, I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago when I went to the Dreamforce and I saw kind of an IoT use case with like solar modules and like with a fancy module built out of bricks. So at Dreamforce and like talking about
Legos. Yeah, we had Lego City.
Yeah, the Lego City, exactly.
I had always the best demos IoT Cloud, always by far.
Yeah. and thinking about it, the use case is still more or less like the same. It's some kind of a function on demand. And now with Data Cloud, obviously it's maybe easier to connect to all the kind of systems Salesforce provide. Obviously the connectivity is better, or was getting better over the last releases and products, and all the kind of data sources, how you easily can bring them into the Data Cloud. I guess this is like the biggest lever we're talking about here.
It's a great point. Okay, so here, I'm gonna sound like I'm in sales, but my connectivity hammer and everything else looks like a nail is MuleSoft. MuleSoft, I can build a prototype in MuleSoft. And by the way, it's getting a lot easier now with Einstein GPT, because Einstein GPT will build an actual MuleSoft transform for me, the XML that I could copy and paste in, but don't tell anybody I said that. I could take an OpenAI spec, right? And okay, you know what you could do? You could describe for Einstein GPT. You could say, I've got a product with a temperature sensor, a humidity sensor, and a G-Shock, right? Which happens to be a supply chain tracking pallet tracker, right? You put it on a pallet, you track. Okay, that's what you would have, 3 sensors. Give me the JSON payload and the OpenAI file for that configuration. Try it.
Really?
When we hang out here. Yeah, and it will generate the JSON payload, and you'll have to massage it a little bit because it'll be wrong. But guess what? I don't have to type in quote temperature unquote colon blah blah blah. Right? It'll do it for me. So I can take that JSON payload and plug it into a transform in MuleSoft in a listener, and there I've got my endpoint. Or I could take the Open API, I keep calling OpenAI, Open API spec, and that's what a Data Cloud ingestion point uses to talk to the outside world, right? MuleSoft has an out-of-the-box connector into Data Cloud too. You can use that. That's an easy one. But if you want to feed data directly into Data Cloud, all you need to do is give it your Open API spec into the ingestion point, and it'll generate your endpoint for you, and you can HTTP post into that endpoint, right? And so you're talking about making it easy for customers to connect their stuff in this. That's spot on, Christopher, what you just said. And most of my people get amazed at, oh wow, Charlie, you can build your these connections really fast, right? You can build these demos really fast. Guess what? I just copy and paste, right? Oh, here's my listener. Here's my connection to all I have to do. I let MuleSoft do all my work because I just have to give it my username and password, and it handles the OAuth connection into whatever I'm connecting to. It could be Data Cloud, it could be a flow, as you mentioned, right? Flow is API enabled, right? It could be even writing into a custom object, and then you do a record triggered flow from the custom object, right? So great point, Christopher, on the connectivity.
So I try to do my homework here. I try to learn, Charlie, to go ahead and become an amazing innovation demo builder like yourself. I have to be good at flows. I have to be good at Data Cloud. I have to understand MuleSoft. And you mentioned AWS. Are you good at AWS or at least proficient?
I'm a hack at AWS. I can build a Lambda. I copy paste, right? And you don't even have to be good anymore because you can check, Einstein GPT can get you 90% of the way there, and you just have to know how to troubleshoot stuff. It's usually 80% of the way there. But you don't, and even if you wanted to, I don't know, sometimes I'll push like the demo I was describing where you upload the image. You need to know how to use an S3 bucket, right? Because you have to set up an S3 bucket to push the image into. So you have to have that overall knowledge. And if you don't, you just read the documentation. There's documentation, and that's how I learn about quote futuristic things, right? I'll come up with an idea. How would I accomplish this for this customer? And sometimes I have to go outside Salesforce and leverage AWS to do that. Like because we sunsetted our Einstein Vision thing. We had a similar thing where
I remember
we can analyze images, and we decided, hey, it's a commodity. Why should we focus? Guess what they did? They picked up all the AI engineers and put them on Einstein GPT, right? So great. But that was valuable information that they could leverage. And by the way, did you know that we were doing generative AI since 2016 at Salesforce?
I had the feeling. Einstein was the discovery. What was it called? The discovery product, the data discovery.
Yeah, it was. Oh shoot, what's the company we acquired? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm gonna look like an idiot now if anybody watches this. But
No.
It was one of our acquisitions. We brought some of the people in there that were early experimenters with generative AI, and then we also have open sourced a lot of it. Is it GitHub Copilot? I think GitHub Copilot is stuff we open sourced. So there's lots of, yeah. So we've open sourced a lot of our generative AI stuff.
I want to go over to, we are Christopher and we come from boring late to the game Germany. We are sometimes joking, we're sometimes 5 to 10 years behind on technological innovations. But Christopher,
we're using faxes. We're still using faxes, right? So
Charlie, what would you give to Christopher and me to push our customers towards technology? Can we push them, or do we have to wait them to ask us?
The best way to and I don't push anybody. You can't do that. And I like to I boast that I'm one of the most patient people at Salesforce, because I mean, even like when I used to work on early IoT use cases, you would have to wait for the customer to first they have to acquire sensors, right? They have to pick the right sensors to put in their product, and then they have to harden those, because there's like 4 or 5 levels of security you have to be concerned about. I mean, you're talking to architects here. If you ever connect anyone's product up to the internet, you need to start at the chip level, right? You need onboard chip onboard security. You need when you go to their hub, if there's going to be a hub there, you need security at the hub. Then you need security from the hub to the cloud. And it could be like Particle IO is one of our IoT partners, for example. They have their own built-in security in their own cloud. And then they go, well, it's always when you go into Salesforce, it's going to be OAuth, right? So OAuth 2. there's another level of security. And guess what? We've got all of our security entitlements on Salesforce that you have to worry about. So maybe that's 5 levels of security you have to worry about. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So you're asking about how I take you like from a dark ages into the future. So I was mentioning that you have to be patient with your customer, number one. Number two, show them what, via those rapid prototypes I was talking about before, show them what the future could look like. But on the other hand, and everybody knows this, who's an architect on the call here, you can't boil the ocean, right? You should design with the end in mind, design the end architecture look, but take baby steps towards that, right? And build incrementally. So I always like to say, hey, look, guess what? This is where you can go, customer. This could be your future in 5 years, Mr. Legacy customer. But to get there, you need to go step 1, step 2, step 3, and make those steps such that they can say, yeah, we could probably accomplish step 1, right? So give them little baby step approaches to getting to that future. Does that make sense?
What I liked what you said before was like you really try to understand like the vision of the customer. So what they actually like trying to envision their future. So taking the auto industry, yeah, everybody is trying to go there for like more e-commerce sales. So break up like the traditional model and all those things. But then one of my first exercises I always do is when I'm talking to them is I'm trying to go to the website and actually ordering a vehicle online to the latest point. And then sometimes you just can't get there, right? And that's like the starting point where you can then envision and try to think about, okay, what is actually needed to get to the point? So is it like, hey, you need to have maybe a better commerce cloud solution or a commerce solution in general, obviously Salesforce term than commerce cloud, or you need to have like a better user experience in terms of leveraging Interaction Studio in some kind of way and in some kind of regards, just like to really envision then certain points within the story. And that's what I like what Charlie has said, as well as like try to envision also then tiny, not maybe tiny steps, but develop steps like milestones. You can't achieve everything at once, yeah. Rome was not also built in one day. You need to think about, okay, what are the kind of cornerstones you actually want to achieve, set those, and then take the next steps from there.
Exactly. And I hope I'm not talking out of school here, especially if Mark watches this, but he probably won't, but so I'll be okay. But he met with the CEO of Qualcomm, and they were talking. Cristiano is his name, the CEO of Qualcomm, and he said, hey, we're coming out with this new car to cloud platform, and it's going to be really cool. We're going to be we're building a concept car, we're going to connect it to the cloud. And so Mark's first question was, and I think this is usually his first question, so what's going to be the customer experience around this, right? So, and Cristiano said, we didn't really think that out. So Mark said, we can help you with that, right? And so he handed that off to us, and we tried to envision, using Automotive Cloud, what the customer experience should be for Qualcomm. And that's what we delivered to the Consumer Electronics Show earlier this year. And I think, getting back to your point, Chris, I think you're totally right. If you think about it from the customer experience standpoint, that's where you're going to get business value, right? And again, for all these futuristic use cases, the hardest part is going to be convincing your CFO, right, or the executives of the company business value. Hey, that looks really cool, right? But what's the business value behind that? So what's the business value behind what we did for the Consumer Electronics Show demo of the concept car connected to Salesforce? Well, we're able to show that if the customer using Einstein, we were able to determine that the customer always had difficulty parking, right? So why not offer them a parking assistant package that they could buy as an over-the-air update and push that to their watch, right? That's what we did.
You know, Charlie, who does that since 15 years, every mobile game. I see you struggling with that level. Give me 10 euro and you can pass that level.
There we go. There we go.
This is how they make money. Every single mobile game does that.
And there's your business value, right? If you say, hey, look, 9 times out of 10, the struggling parking person in our server results or our our user feedback shows that they would opt in and buy that parking assist package or the ADAS package or whatever it might be, right? Or maybe they wanted the other thing we showed just for fun. We created this party mode for the vehicle.
I knew it.
And it's in one of the videos. And actually, you know how I did it? We just built it with Flow because we said, turn the lights red, turn the lights green, just red, green, red. Oh, well, which one do you want first? Okay, and then you just drag the node, right? So it was like a 10-minute party mode. Oh, and guess what? What else we did? We got real bad trouble for this. It's like make the lights flash, but also open and close the doors, right? I think that's what the Tesla does, right? With their little Easter egg thing. You ever seen the Tesla Easter egg where they flap the doors up and down and they play Christmas music or something? Okay, so it's music, lights, and doors. But the problem with that concept vehicle, it has. Do you know what suicide doors are? Where they open, they open together, and you can get somebody squished in the door if you're not careful, right? So they said, no, you're not controlling our doors, Salesforce. Sorry, turn that feature off. So we had to disable because it was a digital twin, right? We could roll the windows down, we can open and close the doors, and they said, no, we don't turn off the door part. They didn't want to kill anybody. But the other interesting thing here, speaking of doors and windows, here's another interesting, like futuristic use case. It's not so futuristic. It's like a useful feature that you could build in a minute on Salesforce. Okay, take MuleSoft. What's MuleSoft good at? Feeding in multiple API points, right? Okay, so you've got the telemetry data from the vehicle. So I know the current state of the vehicle, right? I know that the windows happen to be open. But guess what? What else I can feed into MuleSoft? I can feed in the weather API. So what happens if the windows are open and we're expecting a rainstorm? Well, why not send a push notification to the customer telling them their windows are open? Would you like to close your windows? Yes. Who would say no, right? So, or maybe automatically close the windows if it's going to rain. And that's like that was a 10-minute flow that we built. And we added an API point coming into MuleSoft, and they were blown away.
The next step would be you introduce then the marketing cloud and send out a notification, hey, do you want to buy actually a new car because potentially it was stolen because like the window was open, right? Or the door.
There we go. Maybe in specific neighborhoods that we won't talk about.
Good. So Charlie, thank you very much. I took away, we have been chatting for 40 minutes. I don't want to steal too much of your time. Before we wrap it up, first of all, I took away so much, how it all comes together. My question, what's your favorite Salesforce feature of all times?
Oh, gosh. I really love Data Cloud and everything associated with it and everything I can trigger from Data Cloud, because it's everything I've always been waiting for, right? After we lost IoT Cloud, right? So it's able to do everything, and it's able to give me multiple data points from different customers and different orgs and different products, and I get the golden profile in the middle of it, and I can trigger all the power of Salesforce from that one from Data Cloud. So I'd have to say it's Data Cloud. And second would be Flow. I love flows.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Are you soon building us Einstein GPTs? Build me a flow. I just have to tell it the business use case, and AI builds me the flow.
Okay, forward-looking statement. I don't know when this is coming out, but I think you might see something at Dreamforce. Flow generation. Flow generation.
Nice. Looking forward. So, Christopher, a last question from your side.
I mean, you already dropped it more or less. Like, what is the next big thing for you? Is it really Data Cloud or is it Einstein ChatGPT?
Well, the next big thing is going to be the power of leveraging generative AI on everything in Salesforce. We've already got Sales GPT and Service GPT announced, right? We announced that, I think, July 19th. And if you can imagine what's coming next, including the one I spilled the beans on already that I might get in trouble over, being able to generate flows, the sky's the limit on what we're going to be able to do. And you both know I'm preaching to the choir here, but maybe other folks on the call don't know this. When you I think, and I'm very biased, but I think we're solving all of the challenges around generative AI by all the trust issues, right? The hallucination issues, by putting human in the loop in everything we do. I think we're 100% with problems. You. Yeah,
I see. I'm almost a little not critical with AI. Let's say maybe we are Germans. We are really very conservative about technology. Safety first. Humans have to have the last word.
Yep. And the way we do our the prompt templates, for example, the way we do prompting is like nobody else. And the prompt masking that we're doing and the unmasking at the end and the retention of the critical data and not storing that on the other. Even when we do go out, you can bring your own model if you want, right? So you can do whatever you want with your own model. But when we go out to the external models, we have agreements with those models where they can't retain our data, right? And we mask everything that's important anyway, the PII data. So I think it's going to be that's the future. It's the game changer. And I'm not worried about. Everybody says, "Oh, it's going to replace your job." It's like, and this is a cliche now because so many people have said it, but you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone who's really able to make generative AI sing and dance, right? Who can really leverage the power of generative AI. That person is going to be very valuable.
This is, I think, very good last words. Thank you very much, Charlie, from my side. This was really, really eye-opening talking to you. Honestly, I had no expectation how cool your job is. I already took down a lot of homework, so hopefully one day I can do what you do, build the coolest use cases with your customers. Christopher, from your side?
It was amazing. Great to talk to you. Great experience, and yeah, really looking forward for all those things, which we will see in the hopefully near future than at Dreamforce.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your great questions, and I really enjoyed the time together.
Thank you.